المستقيم تنزيل العزيز الرحيم لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباؤهم فهم غافلون لقد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مقمحون وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون وسواء عليهم أأنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون إنما تنذر من اتبع الذكر وخشي الرحمن بالغيب وبشره بمغفرة وأجر كريم إنا نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين واضرب لهم مثلا أصحاب القرية إذ جاءها المرسلون إذ أرسلنا إليهم اثنين فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين قالوا إنا طيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب أليم قالوا طائركم معكم أئن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون أأتخذ من دونه آلهة إن يردني الرحمن بضر لا تغني عني شفاعتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المكرمين وما أنزلنا على قومه من بعده من جند من السماء وما كنا منزلين إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم خامدون يا حسرة على العباد ما يأتيهم من رسول إلا كانوا به يستهزئون ألم يروا كم أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون أنهم إليهم لا يرجعون وإن كل لما جميع لدينا محضرون وآية لهم الأرض الميتة أحييناها وأخرجنا منها حبا فمنه يأكلون وجعلنا فيها جنات من نخيل وعناب وفجرنا فيها من العيون ليأكلوا من ثمره وما عملته أيديهم أفلا يشكرون سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون وآية لهم الليل نسلخ منه النهار فإذا هم مظلمون والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالعرجون القديم لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون وآية لهم أنا حملنا ذريتهم في الفلك المشحون وخلقنا لهم من مثله ما يركبون وإن نشأ نغرقهم فلا صريخ لهم ولا هم ينقذون إلا رحمة منا ومتاعا إلى حين وإذا قيل لهم اتقوا ما بين أيديكم وما خلفكم لعلكم ترحمون. وما تأتيهم من آية من آيات ربهم إلا كانوا عنها معرضين. وإذا قيل لهم أنفقوا مما رزقكم الله قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا أنطعم من لو يشاء الله أطعمه إن أنتم إلا في ضلال مبين. فيقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين. ما ينظرون إلا صيحة واحدة تأخذهم وهم يخصمون فلا يستطيعون توصية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون. ونفخ في الصور فإذا هم من الأجداث إلى ربهم ينسلون. قالوا يا ويلنا من بعثنا من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون. إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون. فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون. إن أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون. هم وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون. لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون. سلام قولا من رب رحيم. وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون. ألم أعهد إليكم يا بني آدم ألا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وأن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم. ولقد أضل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون. هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون اصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون. اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون. ولو نشاء لطمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون. ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون. ومن نؤمره نكسه في الخلق أفلا يعقلون. وما علمناه الشعر وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين. أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون. وذللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون. واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون. لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند محضرون. فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون. أولم ير الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين. وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم. قل يحييها الذي أنشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم. الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون. أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم. إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون. فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون. صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على سورة المباركة الفاتحة. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. We should start our program, inshallah, with a lecture from Sheikh Abbas Ismail in English. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين شفيع المذنبين رحمة للعالمين مولانا وسيدنا أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرض أرواحنا له الفداء ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في قرآنه المجيد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولقد أخذ الله ميثاق بني إسرائيل وبعثنا منهم 12 نقيبا وقال الله إني معكم لئن أقمتم الصلاة وآتيتم الزكاة وآمنتم برسلي وعزرتموهم وأقرضتم الله قرضا حسنا لأكفرن عنكم سيئاتكم ولأدخلنكم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار فمن كفر بعد ذلك منكم فقد ضل سواء السبيل صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Respected elders, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And my sincere condolences to you all and to the Imam of our time, Ajalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif, on the Shahadat of the 8th Imam, Imam Ali ibn Musa Rida alayhi salam. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that all the mu'mineen remain safe and sound and are given the opportunity to remember Ahlul Bayt more and more, and are given the opportunity especially to visit Mashhad and do the ziyarat of our beloved 8th Imam. In today's lecture commemorating his Shahadat, we're going to look into a couple of things. Number one, the issue around the relationship between Imam alayhi salam and the ruler of the time, Ma'mun al-Rashid. Because there exists a lingering question in many people's minds of why did Imam become the designated successor, or what some people call the crown prince, to Ma'mun. This is one question. And number two, we're going to look into a little bit around the knowledge of the Imam and how these two things come together, the position of designated successor and the knowledge of Imam. Now, to answer the first question, this is something that many young people especially, they bring up time and again, that we see in all of the Imams' lives, that they were very much away from the rulers. The rulers would go after the Imams, the rulers would antagonize, the rulers would harass. Why is it then that we see in the 8th Imam's life a completely different picture? Why do we see him alongside the ruler, designated as successor to the ruler, designated as the one who will take over the leadership after the ruler? This doesn't make sense. This is a very, very good question, and it's a very important one that we need to answer. So the first thing is, the bottom line around this accepting the position of being the designated successor of Ma'mun, this has an interesting history behind it. Ma'mun was different to the Abbasid caliphs. Ma'mun would have seen, number one, he was very intelligent, very. Unfortunately, he used his intelligence and cleverness for evil things, whereas he could have used them for good things. But he was very intelligent and very. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين شفيع المذنبين رحمة للعالمين مولانا وسيدنا أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرض أرواحنا له الفداء ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في قرآنه المجيد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الذين توفاهم الملائكة ظالمي أنفسهم قالوا فيم كنتم قالوا كنا مستضعفين في الأرض قالوا ألم تكن أرض الله واسعة فتهاجروا فيها فأولئك مأواهم جهنم وساءت مصيرا صلوا على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على. Respected elders, brothers and sisters of Imam Hasan Center in Sydney, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is the lecture commemorating the painful shahadat and the very sad occasion of the shahadat of our beloved 11th Imam, Imam Hasan Askari alayhi salatu wassalam. We extend our condolences first and foremost to the Imam of our time, Imam Zamana, Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu sharif, and to all of the mu'mineen, mu'minat and muslimeen throughout the world. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep you all safe, keep you away from this pandemic, help us to reconnect with our community once again properly, establish unity, all within the line of our madhab, our school of thought, and within the service of our beloved Imam of the time. In this lecture, I wish to look at the life of our 11th Imam from a number of angles. Number one, the way that after Imam leaves this world, what were the immediate effects, especially on the challenges towards the 12th Imam. This is number one. Number two, how had Imam set up this network of different people acting on his behalf? We see that Imam was kept under very close surveillance, sometimes imprisoned. So what did that mean for the Shia Ummah of the time? Number three, looking at especially the financial side of things. How have we ended up with this current system that we have got? Does it have any legitimacy? Does it have any roots in Islamic history? So we'll look at that as well. And number four, we'll look at some of the teachings, the sayings of Imam, especially regarding our own time and our own recourse to religious authority. So we always think that our time is the worst. We always think that we're going through the toughest time. And no doubt, this current period that we are in is very tough. And it is a challenge. However, it's not that we are going through the toughest times. People before us also went through very tough times. They came through it. And the more you rely upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the teachings of Islam and maintaining taqwa, this is going to help in every single situation, no matter where you are, no matter what time period you are in. This will help to find a way out. Now, what does this mean? You see, some people, they misunderstand this. What they think is that, okay, if we pray, if we do dua, if we have taqwa, if we do everything we're supposed to do, our problems will go away. This is not true. This is a misconception. There are some people, unfortunately, throughout the world. Some of them I even know, unfortunately, personally, I have met them. And they trap mu'mineen with these promises that follow me, pay me, hire me, do things for me, and I will relieve you of your problems. I will give you a taweez, I will give you a dua, I will give you some kind of miracle cure, and all your problems will go away. This is not our understanding of the world. This world necessitates difficulty. It necessitates hardship from time to time. Yes, dua, taweez, sadaqah, all of these different things can help relieve, but it doesn't mean that someone can live in this world free from all trials and tribulations. So we often think that our time is the worst. And we often think that our future generations are going to suffer more than previous generations. But it's not really like that. Every time has its own special conditions, special problems. We have to concentrate to do the best with the situation we have been given. In the wisdom of Allah, we have been given these things. Now, how do we deal with it? This is our great challenge. I'm this with the life of the 11th Imam, because as you will see, the lives of the Imams after the 8th Imam were very, very difficult and very constrained. But what does the Quran say? Let us look at 3 verses regarding our predicament, our challenges, and how we can overcome them. I want to give you an example of something that happened to me a couple of years ago before this pandemic hit. I was invited to Paris. Paris has a very mashallah, good youth group, and they invited me there for a weekend, for a course, and for some activities. They have a big problem in France. The problem that they have there is that wearing religious symbols in what we would call government or public or state spaces is not allowed. So that includes the headscarf. So imagine the schools, universities, the workplaces, the offices, which are all under the state, will not allow someone to wear a headscarf. Now, this is a huge issue for our sisters. Our sisters are going through immense difficulties. They wear the headscarf throughout the day, wherever they are, but the moment they reach the school gates, it has to come off. When they come out of the school gate, it can come on again. Same applies to the office and the workplaces. So they were asking me, they were saying, how do we deal with this predicament? And you'll see in the Holy Quran that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He outlines for us certain principles of how to deal with these kinds of things. Now, this example of France is just one example. There could be similar examples in Australia, in England, in America, in any part of the world. But this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. This is Surah number 4, Surah An-Nisa, verse number 97. Inna alladhina tawaffahumul malaika. Allah says that some people, when the angels come to take their souls away at the time of death, ظالمي أنفسهم, those were the people who had done a lot of sins. قالوا فيما كنتم, the angels will ask them, what kind of situation were you in? How was your life? What did you do? They will reply, قالوا كنا مستضعفين. They will reply, you know what, we were the downtrodden. Things didn't go our way. Where we lived was very tough. The conditions were tough. The state was difficult. The environment did not allow us to practice our faith, for example. قالوا كنا مستضعفين. We were downtrodden. The state, the apparatus, the system was against us. في الأرض, in this place. قالوا, the angels will reply to them, ألم تكن أرض الله واسعة? Was the earth of Allah not large enough for you فيها, that you can leave and go to another place? فَأُولَٰئِكَ مَأْوَاهُمْ جَهَنَّمْ. So those people will be the ones in hell, because what they did was they gave up too quickly. They gave in too quickly. I put this to the people in Paris. فَأُولَٰئِكَ مَأْوَاهُمْ جَهَنَّمْ. They are the ones that their place is in hell. وَسَاءَتْ مَصِيرًا. And what a evil destination it is. I put this to them. I said, look, you have an option. You can either stay here and be forced to do these things. Sometimes you cannot pray. So you're making your namaz qaza like 6 months or 3 or 4 months in the year because of the time difference. Because the Zohar time is so short, by the time you get home, it's already qaza, you've missed your prayer. You can't, for example, wear the headscarf for the ladies. And there are similar other restrictions. So why not leave France? Why not go to somewhere else? Your religious compliance is more important. So they said, this is going to be very difficult on us. I said, yes, it is difficult, but it's not impossible. If you take your religion seriously, it's not impossible to safeguard your religion, to make sure you're living in a godly way on a daily basis. You may need to move. Yes, it's very difficult. It's not easy. It cannot happen overnight. It may take weeks, months, possibly years of planning, but you should have a resolve to relocate somewhere where you can practice your faith. They turned around to me and they said, you know what, it's a good idea, but we will stay here and we will fight for our rights so that the next generation doesn't have to go through what we are going through. I said to them, look, that's a very good, noble gesture, but Islam is not asking you to do this. Islam is telling you, instead of worrying about the future generation and fighting for their rights, whilst you are going through the same thing, you are not able to practice, you are not able to pray, you are not able to wear hijab. This doesn't make sense. It's like a situation when we were in the airplanes. What happens? They show you the safety video. in the safety video, they say if the air pressure drops, masks will fall down. Fit your own first and then help other people. This is what Islam says as well. That when you have a problem, yes, it's very noble, it's very nice. You can definitely campaign for your rights and for other people. But where you are finding that year upon year upon year upon year, day after day, you are not able to practice your faith, then you have a big problem. It's better you secure your faith and then campaign in another way that you can, maybe from outside, maybe from another way, maybe through the media, I don't know. But this is fundamental. You have to secure yourself. Your soul is also going to be asked. The way you're worried about your future generations, you should worry about yourself as well. Another verse on the Holy Quran, same surah, a couple of verses later, verse number 100. وَمَنْ يُهَاجِرْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. Whoever travels in the way of Allah, يَجِدْ فِي الْأَرْضِ مُرَاغَمًا كَثِيرًا وَسَعًا, will find many safe havens and plenitude. Allah will not leave anyone. Allah, if you make an effort for Allah, He will also help you in return. وَمَنْ يَخْرُجْ مِنْ بَيْتِهِ مُهَاجِرًا إِلَى اللَّهِ. Whoever leaves his house as a migrator towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wa rasulihi and his prophet, ثُمَّ يُدْرِكْهُ الْمَوْتِ, and death comes upon him. What if during this time when we're planning to move or planning to relocate to safeguard our faith, we die? What could be more difficult than that? Then what? فَقَدْ وَقَعَ أَجْرُهُ عَلَى اللَّهِ. That person's reward will be upon Allah. Allah here doesn't specify any type of reward. He doesn't say you'll get heaven, you'll get gardens, you'll get bounties. No, He says this is on me. That means it's an immense, huge reward that He doesn't want to put into words. فَقَدْ وَقَعَ أَجْرُهُ عَلَى اللَّهِ. Only Allah can give him his ajr. وَكَانَ اللَّهُ غَفُورًا رَحِيمًا. And in another verse again, regarding difficulties and how to come out of difficulties. We are going through a time right now that people really are economically very, very, very tight, very straitened. Things are not easy. Jobs are going, businesses are closing. It's a very tough time right now. And we're looking at, if the predictions are true, we're looking at major global poverty to come. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. This is surah number 65, verses 2 to 3. Whoever has piety of Allah, Allah will find for him a way out. What does this mean? Does this mean if I'm poor, I have piety, I'll become rich? No. It means Allah will somehow give you the strength to deal with your issues. Not that the issues will just dissolve and disappear. But you'll get to a stage where you are so strong that the problems won't bug you like they bug you right now. وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبْ. And He will provide for him from whence he never reckoned. وَمَنْ يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. Whoever has faith in God, trust in God, God will suffice him. إِنَّ اللَّهَ بَالِغُ أَمْرِهِ قَدْ جَعَلَ اللَّهُ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدْرًا. So, this is the way to look at our predicament, our situation, our time at the moment. It's a very difficult time, no one's denying that. But through faith, through piety, through reliance on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you can get the strength to deal with these things. So the question, after discussing all of this in Paris, the question they posed to me was, so Sheikh, can we not lead a normal life? And my response was, define normal. What do you mean normal? If you mean normal, that you can do whatever you want like the rest of society, you don't have to worry about praying and wearing hijab and these things, then Islam cannot allow that. But if you mean normal, as in following a religion and working your way around your life situations in order to protect and preserve your religion, then absolutely Islam will encourage this. Absolutely Islam will emphasize this. So we should move away from thinking about normal life, comfortable life. We want life to be comfortable, but it may not be, and we should be prepared for that, and we should be prepared to sacrifice for that, inshallah. So, where are we going with this? We are going with this onto the life of our 11th Imam, Imam Hasan Askari alayhi salam. Imam Hasan Askari, his title was Askari. Why is this? Well, his father, the 10th Imam, Imam Naqi alayhi salam, was summoned to the capital Samarra. And this happened when Imam Hasan Askari was 2 years old. And they were constantly under surveillance, and they were actually accommodated in a garrison. Askar means garrison. Why was this? Why was this place? It was done to ensure they were watched very closely. That every time, whatever they were doing, someone somewhere had an eye on them. Askar means garrison. And this was situated a little bit outside the town of Samarra. Hence, in history, we find reports that, for example, I went to the Askar to meet the Imam. So that place was known as the Askar. Hence, Imam Hasan al-Askari, the one who was confined or situated inside the garrison. Now, Imam alayhi salam had a brother. And this is an important thing to note. Some of the connections, the relations, the family members of Ahlul Bayt are not always very good people. The brother of the Imam was exceptionally very devious. Imam had worked, so after the 8th Imam, as I mentioned, 9, 10 and 11 Imams, they were very much kept under surveillance, their movements were controlled, and they were in a lot of danger. Not only that, their followers were in a lot of danger. So if ever the rulers found a follower of the Imam, that person is in big trouble. Either he's going to be killed, tortured, imprisoned, questioned, harassed, whatever. These things were happening. So what did the Imam do? During the 11th Imam's life, he had managed to put together a whole huge network of agents. So you think khums, you think information, you think questions about religion, you think about interpretations of the Holy Quran. How is Imam giving this information to people and guiding them? It was done through this very elaborate, large, expanded, secretive network. It was widespread, it was underground, it was a connected web. One evidence of this is what? When Imam Hasan al-Askari leaves this world, his brother, as I mentioned, he came to the minister of the caliph. The minister's name was Abdullah ibn Khaqan. And what does he say to him? He says to him, look, I've got an offer for you. This is Imam Hasan Askari's brother. He said, I have an offer. Give me the position of my brother. He says to the minister of the caliph, give me the position that my brother had. If you do this, I will give you 20,000 dinars every year. What does this tell us? It tells us a number of things. Number one, it means that the secretive and underground hidden nature of the Shias of that time, this was still a huge amount that the brother of the Holy Imam knew that he could access if he had Imam's position. This is number one. So there was a lot of money, Qom's money, the money of the Shias flowing around in this connected web, underground, secretive. Imagine, that's a huge amount of money, and he's saying, I'll give it to you easily every year. That means there's a lot of money there and a lot of secretive exchange of these monies and the instructions, what to do with the money. So this is number one. Number two, it shows us no one knew where it was coming from, how it was coming, who is collecting, Who is sending? How is it exchanging hands? Where is it being distributed? 20,000 dinars at that time was a huge amount. And number 3, the next thing that it tells us, that this brother of the Imam was a very stupid fellow. How can you come to the Caliph or the minister of the Caliph of the time and tell him, please make me the Imam? It shows that even his own brother had a serious misconception, a serious lack of knowledge of how this divinely appointed position comes about. He thought, well, if the Caliph appoints me, then I'll become powerful, the Shias will lend to me, I will distribute this money, I'll become famous, I'll become rich. All of this was done by the brother of the Imam through his stupidity and his silliness. And the advisor to the Caliph called him out on this. So he actually had more awareness of the situation than the brother of the Imam. Abdullah ibn Khaqan told him, he said, your brother was under strict surveillance. Despite that strict surveillance, still the Shias were coming to him from everywhere. They were giving him khums. Distribution of that money was taking place. And the Caliph was looking and searching at all times for just one evidence that how is this going on? And had he found that evidence, he would have captured and imprisoned people, but he could not even find one evidence of this. This is how powerful this network was. This is how much effort, time, energy went into these things. Sometimes we can look at the lives of the 3 latter Imams before our 12th Imam, and we can think, what did they do in their lives? They didn't achieve much. No, this is wrong. They achieved a lot, but it was done very secretively. So the minister says, the Caliph tried to find out about all this, but he could not even find one evidence. And then he says, if you have the same respect amongst the Shias, then why do you need me to appoint you? Why do you need us to recognize you? They should say that you are the Imam. It's not for us to say. So these are the 3 amazing points we get from this story. Number 1, that there was a whole secretive network. Number 2, the amounts were huge. And number 3, even the Imam's brother had failed to understand the position of Imamah. Now this brings me on to another question. This is something that many people, they do tend to ask from time to time. And I know that these questions are genuine. And these questions are not coming from an evil position. These questions are genuine questions. The question is that if our marja is receiving hundreds of thousands, millions of pounds, dollars in khums, why don't we get some accountability about it? We should know where it's spent. We should have accounts. We should have evidence. We should have reports. We should have all of these things. Well, one of the key teachings that we see in history is that when you have enemies out there, and believe me, we have lots of enemies out there. Some are individuals, some are organizations, some are governments. I don't want to say more. But we have lots of people out there who are dying to know, how do these people operate? Where is this money going? How is it being spent and distributed? When that is the case, you keep things secret. Imagine today if everyone around knew how our global apparatus was working. It would be a disaster. Imagine the competition that would be set up between, even within Shias, different organizations. If I have an organization, you have an organization, and I see that the marja has given you X and has given me less, I will say, excuse me, these people are bad. Why are you giving it to them? I should be given. I know them. And I do your ghibat and I do your tohmat and I put all kinds of allegations on you. And this creates a lot of discord, bad blood, ill feeling. This is why this is a very wise way of doing things, that we don't declare what the activities are and how they are taking place. So anyway, eventually this brother of the Imam was banned from the court. They had enough of him. because he was a nuisance. And then he started to show himself in public. He started to say, I am the heir of the 11th Imam. Hasan Askari was my brother. I'm the successor. You do your allegiance towards me. I'm the Imam of the time. He started to dismiss our beloved 12th Imam, Ajalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif, saying things like, he's only a boy. How can you follow a boy? He's very young. He doesn't know. You should follow me. So, despite all of these issues, our 11th Imam, despite his surveillance, his imprisonment, he still managed to keep the systems flowing, and the Shias were still able to benefit from him. Imam has left us many, many teachings. Despite being under such surveillance, despite being under such imprisonments, he has left us many, many teachings. He has given us a few very important teachings. One of them, because time is very short, I don't want to make the lecture very long. One of them is the following. He has told us, فَأَمَّا مَنْ كَانَ مِنَ الْفُقَهَاءِ سَائِلًا لِنَفْسِهِ حَافِظًا لِدِينِهِ مُخَالِفًا لِهَوَاهِ مُطِيعًا لِأَمْرِ مَوْلَاهِ فَلِلْعَوَامِ أَنْ يُقَلِّدُوهُ. This is a short extract from a longer saying of the Imam, where he outlines very clearly. He says, look, there may come a time, and you know the latter Imams all prepared us very well, very nicely for the ghaibat of the 12th Imam. He said, there may come a time when we, the Ahlul Bayt, are not accessible, when we are not in front of you, when you cannot just come and visit us and see us. During that time, what do you do? He says, فَأَمَّا. As for those times, in those times, what do we advise? مَنْ كَانَ مِنَ الْفُقَهَاءِ. Look for those very deep, well-versed scholars of ours. These are not masums. These are not imams. These are not prophets. They are scholars, fuqaha. Look for these fuqaha. Look for these scholars. What kind of qualities and what kind of qualifications do these scholars need to have? Sa'inan li nafsi, very careful about his own conduct. Hafidhan li deenih, he protects his religion. He doesn't take his religion lightly. He's very careful. He will not, easily sin. He's not a masoom, but at the same time, he's very careful not to sin. Mukhalifan li hawa, he battles against his own desires and passions. He doesn't allow himself to go into his own desires and passions. Muti'an li amri mawla, he is fully committed to obeying the orders of his master, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Awam. If you find a person like this and we are not available, falil awam. So therefore it is on the people and yuqallidu, that they follow him in taqleed. This is one of the key teachings of Imam, which is directly right now applicable to all of us. That when we look for leadership, religious guidance, religious interpretations, religious laws, all of these things, we look for someone who fits this criteria. That they are truly well versed in knowledge. That means they've done a lot of study. That means they've studied at the best of places, like Najaf, like They have studied in these brilliant institutions where the methodology is sound, where the methods are rigorous and they are tough to get the very best of scholarship out. They take care of their own nafs. They are careful about their religion. They oppose their desires. They have taqwa. They are committed fully to obeying the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then they deserve to be followed by those who are not at that level. This is a key thing that Imam leaves us with, and one of his best advices that is applicable directly to us right now. Mu'mineen and Mu'minat, this is the final occasion of mourning in this period. Then after this, we have relatively few wafats coming up. This is our chance to bid farewell to those days of mourning, which we will miss until next year. Imam alayhi salam was poisoned, just like his forefathers. Imam Hasan alayhi salam, the second Imam, was poisoned in a very nasty way. 72 parts of his own liver were brought out in his final moments. He was vomiting the blood and the pieces of liver during his last moments. But Imam Hasan Askari was given a very different kind of poison. His poison was very slow acting. Why was this done in this way? One theory is that it was done in this way to draw out the 12th Imam. That if the father is suffering like this, then somehow, some way, there'll be a panic and the 12th Imam will show himself. It was a very bad poison. It was a very painful poison. Imam at the same time was imprisoned and under surveillance, so no treatment was even possible. It was a very slow acting poison. The body was deteriorating slowly but surely. At one point, the Imam had become so weak that he would pray on his bed. A couple of days later, as the body deteriorates further, he now can only pray while lying down. Imam has an extreme level of thirst at this time. He then says to someone, "Bring me some water." The person goes to fetch the water. Before the water reaches the Imam falls upon the bed and his soul leaves this world. They say that when this happens and the Imam's body is being prepared for burial, they say the brother of Imam then stands up and starts to want to pray the prayer of Mayyat over the 11th Imam. It is at that point that history tells us a young boy of 5 years old steps forward, tells his uncle, he says, "Uncle, this is not for you. Only I can lead these prayers." And the young boy raises his hands, recites the prayer over his father, and then the Imam is buried. Who was this young boy? None other than our beloved Imam, Imam Sahib al-Asri wa Zaman. Our beloved 12th Imam led the prayers. He then goes into Ghaibat. We say to Imam Zaman, "Oh Imam, you were fortunate. You were there at the side of your father. You took part in the burial. You recited the prayers over your father. We have another Imam who would have wished to have done the same thing, but he was not allowed. Sajjad alayhi salam was shackled in chains. He was tied up. He was dragged through Karbala. He was made to sit on the camels and the horses without saddles. He was pulled through the deserts. He was walking on stones and harsh rocks. He was taken from place to place. And whenever he would exhaust from exhaustion, he would faint. If he would faint, everyone that he was tied together with, all the children and all the ladies, they would all fall down. They would all have to stand up together. Sajjad alayhi salam, as he enters into Sham, they say that at that moment of entry into Sham, one of the companions of Rasulullah was also there at that time. Coincidentally, he looks at Imam Sajjad. He says, "I know this person. This is Ali ibn al-Hussein." He goes towards Imam Sajjad. He says, "Do you know me? I am Sahal. I am one of the companions of your grandfather Rasulullah. Can I do anything for you?" Imam says to him, "Oh Sahal, can you do me one favor? If you can go and get me some cloth, I will much appreciate." Sahal goes, gets the cloth, brings it back. Sahal says, I bought him a cloth. I thought maybe he will wrap it around himself. Maybe he was feeling cold or fragile." Imam takes the cloth. He ties the cloth round into a ball. He puts the cloth in between the iron on his neck and the skin of his neck. Sahal says to him, "Why do you do this?" He says, "Look, Sahal, from the time we left Karbala, we went to Kufa, we traversed the desert and came to Sham. From that time, this neck collar of mine has been eating into the skin and flesh of my neck. with this cloth. For the first time, I'm feeling a little bit of relief from the pain of the collar around my neck. لعنة الله القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. Let us recite for all marhumin, marhumat, all of our dearly beloved scholars who have passed away, all of the marhumin of all the mu'mineen. Rahmallahu man qara al-Fatiha.
یا حسین ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے ہے شمع سے شمع جلے سلسلہ جاری رہے ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے ہے شمع سے شمع اپنے نسلوں کو سکھاتے رہو ماتم کا ہنر سینہ در سینہ کرے بس یہ عزاداری سفر جیسے حالات بھی ہو یہ عمل جاری رہے ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزادار اے شمع سے شمع جلے سلسلہ رہے ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے ہے شمع سے شمع لاکھ بدلے یہ زمانے کی روش اور موسم ایک پل بھی نہ رکے اشک ازا اور ماتم ماتم شہ کا جنوں ذہن پر طاری رہے ہم رہے یا یہ عزاداری رہے ہے شمع سے ماں جلے سلسلہ جاری رہے ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے ہے شمع سے شمع تم مگر ذاکر شبیر ہو یہ یاد رہے چاہے اس غم کے لیے سر بھی کٹے گھر بھی جلے حرمت فرش ازا جان سے پیاری رہے ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے ہے شمع سے شمع جلے سلسلہ بھی رہے ہم رہے نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے ہے شمع سے یہ سبیلے یوں ہی آباد رہے یہ عزا اور گھر گھر پہ نظر آئے علم غازی کا یہ علم اونچا رہے یہ علم داری رہے ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے ہے شمع سے شمع جلے سلسلہ جاری رہے ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے ہے شمع سے شمع اپنے گھر میں بھی عزا خانہ سجانا ہے مجھے اپنے بچوں کو عزادار بنانا ہے مجھے
کہ اس نسل میں بھی زیادہ ری رہے ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری
عابد بیمار تھا چلنے سے جو لاچار تھا اور شام کا بازار تھا اور شام کا بازار تھا اور مصطفیٰ کی بیٹیاں مولا امام یا حسین مولا امام یا حسن حسین مولا یا حسن یا حسین یا حسین شبیر کی وہ لاڈلی شبیر کی وہ ہائے سینے پہ جو شاہ کے پلی سینے پہ جو شاہ کے پلی جس کی ابا بن میں جلی جس کی ابا بن میں جلی منہ پر تماچوں کے نشان مولا یا حسن یا حسین مولا امام یا حسن حسین مولا امام یا حسن یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین السلام عليك يا رسول الله السلام عليك يا نبي الله السلام عليك يا خديجة الكبرى السلام عليك يا علي أمير المؤمنين السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين السلام عليك حسن المجتبى السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب خصوصا سيدي ومولاي أبا الفضل العباس أختيك زينب وأم كلثوم وبنتك سكينة وبنات الهاشمية وتمام شهداء كربلاء جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام عليك لزين العابدين السلام عليك محمد الباقر السلام عليك جعفر الصادق السلام عليك موسى الكاظم السلام عليك علي الرضا السلام عليك أختك فاطمة المعصومة السلام عليك محمد تقي الجواد السلام عليك علي النقي الهادي السلام عليك حسن العسكري السلام عليك مولانا صاحب العصر والزمان خليفة الرحمن شريك القرآن كعبة الإيمان السلام عليك إمامنا وإمام إنس والجان ورحمة الله وبركاته يا صاحب الزمان أدركني يا صاحب الزمان أدركني يا صاحب الزمان أدركني اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وبارك الفاتحة